Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Eric, a teacher with LSAT Demon. Joining me is Nathan Fox, co-founder of LSATdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Today, an email from Nate.
Says, hey, Demon, my name is Nate, a recent subscriber to your LSAT program. My most recent full-length LSAT was a 161, but today's February exam was a complete disaster. Without boring you with the details, I faced an absurd amount of technical issues and several mishaps with the proctors that really threw me off. I was forced to call technical support for 1.5 hours about this issue. It was bad. They eventually let me back into the exam, but my mental fortitude was definitely challenged. Once I lost focus, it just kept getting worse, like a snowball effect. Should I cancel my score, or should I have appealed for a retake? Why is that in the past tense? Is that not possible for Nate to still do that?
I think it is. It should still be possible. February, it's not like the scores have been released yet, so I don't see why that's not still a possibility.
I would think that if you contacted LSAC and you told them how bad it was and, what can they do for you, they should at least can't give you a free. I would think possibly like administrative cancel so that it doesn't count as one of your 5 attempts.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think a free retake. If not, let us know, I suppose, so that we can learn.
By the time this podcast publishes, who knows if there is some sort of a date. This is worth looking up. LSAT score cancellation. If you are an LSAT taker who did not purchase LSAT score preview, you may decide to cancel your LSAT score within 6 calendar days after your test date.
Yeah, so by the time you hear this, it might be too late. But this does seem like the type of situation, for posterity. Sounds like you sucked. Why not just get the free retake?
Yeah, retake, don't retake, whatever. I think there's a bigger issue here with Nate, which is mental fortitude was definitely challenged. I don't want to sound like a dick, and I get that being on a tech support call for an hour and a half sucks, but also the LSAT shouldn't be that big a deal. If you extend your test by a little bit, if there's a couple starts and stops, some people go through great effort to get accommodated to add extra starts and stops to their test. So
on purpose.
On purpose. So you should be able to sit down and get the gears going again pretty quickly. Yeah,
when I read that snowball effect, my brain immediately went snowflake effect, maybe. That like you're melting down for no reason. I'm not saying it's not frustrating, Nate, and I hope you're not like you hate us now and are going to quit LSAT Demon or whatever, but the better you get at the test, the less this type of thing is going to bother you. Notice that Nate's most recent full-length LSAT was a 161. That's still not like that good. That's like the test. That might be major progress, and that's fantastic. But it also could be that you could do a lot better than that eventually, and maybe you're just not really ready to take the test. Because with a 161, if you're doing 15 questions in a row correct and getting a 161, that's great. But if you're like answering every question and missing half of them and scraping out a 161, that's really taxing. And you start having technical support issues, proctor, whatever, problems being out of the test, into the test, whatever. If you're also if it's like a snowballing, as you say, Nate, you could get a snowballing where, okay, so I already caused myself psychic damage by struggling with these LSAT questions. Now I'm having proctor issues and it's making it worse. But the better you get at the test, the less of that psychic damage you're going to take from the test itself.
Yes. And I think it's also just important that we build the ability to roll with the punches on tests.
Yes.
As future law students, like that's going to be law school.
Yes.
And stuff is not going to go perfectly for you on your tests.
Yeah.
And guess what? You're not going to have the ability to retake those law school exams 4 times. So
yes.
Yeah, we just have to practice some mindfulness and the ability to kind of breathe out and let it go and refocus
Yeah.
on the task at hand. And uh, let's see, Josh, who put the agendas together, pointed out that this is not just the LSAT, that you're going to run into potentially bad proctoring services or unfortunate proctoring situations throughout your entire legal journey. Did you hear, Nate, about what happened with the California bar exam in February?
Yeah, well, we have a story here from Reuters, and the headline is Amid California bar exam disarray, refund offered to 5,600 test takers. Quote from that story. Examinees have reported problems scheduling their in-person tests and a lack of nearby test sites. They say the state bar and testing company Measure Learning with a Z have provided contradictory information at times and claims the state bar made last-minute changes to its study materials without telling them. I'm reminded of my Aunt Susan, who was a school teacher. She hated Toys R Us because of the name. She fucking hated the R in Toys R Us.
R in the middle.
She was so pissed about that.
Did Toys R Us use a Z in the toys? I don't
think so. I think they just
did.
had the R, and it might even have been a backward R. Yeah, and she was just so mad about that. It is funny that the California State Bar is using a testing company called Measure with a Z.
It's like all the tech startups that insert a Y in place of different vowels as well. That was a kind of a trope.
Yeah, like Lyft.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe we should develop for the LSAT demon. Maybe we should develop like bad proctor mode.
It's like those NBA 2K games where they like purposely put in some bad ref calls, and I think you might be able to toggle that on and off.
Sure. Well, we could make it so that you can toggle it on and off. We could call it like disaster mode, and there'd be like every once in a while there could be like a bomb scare or like a tornado warning.
Yeah, or your internet cuts out and you have to like completely LSAT demon logs you out and you have to re-log in.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think there's something to that idea.
There is some merit there for sure. Yeah. Maybe that's something that we should do. So
I'm sorry, emphasize Nate, that these are the exception, not the norm. These technical difficulties, the vast majority of you will not run into these problems.
Go on Reddit and it's going to sound like everybody has these problems because people who have these problems are very vocal about it because sure, like, we get it, Nate. It's a high stakes test. You put a lot of, you were really hoping that this was going to go well. And, you feel like the proctors fucked you, which fine, they did, but they didn't really permanently fuck you because LSAC would have let you get a free retake. Yes, you should have appealed for that retake. I'm sorry if you're hearing this, too late for you to do that. But it's also the case that there are going to be plenty of people who have issues like this and still crush the test anyway. Because unless they actively took time away from you, it doesn't change the actual test. Right. Yeah. Anyway, anything more for Nate?
No, I think, Nate, you're going to be just fine. Just practice a little bit of swagger, as we sometimes call it.
Oh, for sure.
I think that'll help.
I've done this for a very long time. I loved it, looking around the room. Now, you can't do that anymore because you're taking the test from home, but you will be able to in law school when the exam starts. Instead of starting the exam, you just kind of look around the room and look at all the lemmings plunging off the cliff, frantically diving into it and typing frantically and whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to just be calm and careful and just read it carefully and understand, how could you possibly be typing? You haven't even read the fact pattern yet. Was always my kind of advice. Of course, in law school, the counter to that is, well, I knew it was going to be on the exam and I've already figured out what my answer is going to be. So not that I got good grades in law school, but I did do really good on every standardized test I ever took. And I think that that's because of just having a lot of swagger where it's like, I really don't give a shit. I know that I can solve this. I'm just going to take my time and solve it. Yeah. And if there's problems, if it takes 45 minutes to get the test started or whatever, I'm going to make sure that everybody else is irritated about that more than I'm irritated about that.
Totally.
Because then I win. Anyway, thank you, Nate. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you would like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.